So, a quick video on the old to the new silencer here for my muffler, for my RZR Turbo. Obviously, this is the old one. You can see single exhaust. This is called center inlet, right? So in the center is the inlet. And this is an oval, right? So this is the Camaro Fire. This is what's sometimes called the Camaro Firebird style. Oval, center, right? So center inlet, center exhaust, single-sided. Just getting through the lay of the land then, this comes across pretty much on the same plane, and then this is actually elevated slightly because you can see it more here, because there is, I got my finger underneath there. It is a greater than 90 degree bend. This is a greater than 90 degree bend here. It's about 110. These are tabs to hold on a outer heat shield that wraps around, as is here and here. These are hangers, and this does the majority of the support of the muffler. Hangs from the couple of really rubber grommets in the back of the frame. And then spring tabs here and here, right? And then of course here would be where the spark arrestor goes, except I've taken it out to go put in the new one. So those are the key points for replication. On the new one, I did not, as you can see, put the heat shield back on. Why is that? Well, you can see all the bluing that's coming out of here. What is this? This is the catalytic converter, and it's just pouring heat into this thing. No catalytic converter, well, I don't think we're going to have that kind of massive heat that the catalytic converter was creating, which removes that heat source. There's an air gap to the stock plastic shroud, and I intend to replace that. That's a large air gap, probably a couple inches. And I think I'm going to be okay. We'll soon find out, right? So I didn't bother to spend it. Really, it was a cost function. I didn't want to spend more time paying my welder to get that done. You can see these are all TIG welded. This is all stainless steel, polished stainless steel muffler, stainless steel mandrel bent tubing. So what was recreated? Well, this bend is recreated. This is stainless steel tube. That's 3/8 with a 3/8 washer tacked in place, and it's all stick built. Of course, you have to have your spring tensioner here, and again, one over here, right? And you'll notice that's actually on the muffler now. Down turns, pretty much mirroring the stock geometry. It's tipped a little bit farther down. That was an aesthetic decision on my part. I decided I wanted it tipped a little farther down, and of course now dual exhaust. That creates a bit of a problem when you're inletting here center, and you've brought this up forward. You have to try to get this positioned back to center. My welder actually didn't tip this as far down. Obviously this is 110 degree bend, and then you turn this, and you can see this doesn't go straight down like that does, right? This is at a marked angle, and you can see that here, right? So what's happening here is we're trying to bring this flange back to center so that the kind of flexi connection is relatively, it should have been right about here, and he didn't. So I wasn't there when he welded this part up. Sadly, I had to go. Well, what I had to go get these stainless steel washers for this. So I was off buying parts. Or I would have directed him to bring this farther down. Now, one of the reasons he didn't do that was it allowed him to kind of countercut this. So there's only one bend here, and then there's you can't even see it, but any real degree. But this is not flush. This is cut at an angle, right? And then welded on so that it gets the right angle for the mating up. And it mates up perfectly. This is the exact correct angle given that geometry is turned. So again, this should have been more like here. That does put your mate, your flexi exhaust tube coming from the turbo elevated slightly. It's pretty darn minor. That's pretty palatable. So that's what it looks like on this side. Now, of greater interest over here, when you turn this over, is, and obviously I refuse to allow him to cut this or scavenge any parts off it. I wanted to be able to go back to stock at any time. This is interesting. This centers. There's a matching oval puck on the frame of the machine. And what happens is the spring tension, particularly here, forces this and keeps this centered exact by spring pressure. And this curvature keeps this centered on the machine as a result of both that curvature and the spring tension. Recreating that was a little bit of a challenge because we just didn't have the kind of hydraulic. Well, it's forming. It's not just a punch. How are we going to form that curve, right? So what was done, I thought it was ingenious of the guy. I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't. Here you can see that we hid the part number and product, but it is a Dynamex 17266. Here's what he did. He put this round tube on it, and now that the dome that it rides on, if it ever tries to move off the dome, this perfectly matches the outer circumference of the dome. If it slips away from the dome, then obviously the spring pressure forces it back to center. So pretty good idea on his part, easy to recreate, and there you go. So this is what it looks like on this side. So that's it for now. I'll give you a picture of it assembled now, but far more time. You could do this. You could do this pretty quick once it's done. Once you started recreating it, far more time went into measuring, getting the bends exactly correct so that it hung level and centered right. That's really where your time goes. Here, right? The spring tabs are pretty much nothing. And of course, making your decisions on your aesthetics behind where you want these welds and getting this turned right. So that's what it looks like. Oh, by the way, this that's a stainless steel flange itself that came from Aftermarket Assassins. There you go.